Welcome to Office Hours. Today, we're going to talk about prime numbers. A number can either be prime or composite. A prime number only has two factors, 1 and itself. An example would be like 2, 17, or 173. A composite number has more than two factors. An example of this would be 64, whose factors are 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and 64. A factor is a number that divides another number evenly. So to find the factors of 6, we can think about it like we have 6 people that we want to break up into groups. So we could do groups of 1, we could do groups of 2, we could do groups of 3, or we could have groups of 6. So in other words, the factors of 6 are 1, 2, 3, and 6. To help us quickly find some factors, we're going to go over the rules of divisibility. If the number is even, then it's divisible by 2. If the sum of the digits in the number is divisible by 3, then the number itself is divisible by 3. If a number is even and the number made up by its last two digits is divisible by 4, then the whole number itself is also divisible by 4. If a number ends in a 0 or a 5, then the number is divisible by 5. A number is divisible by 6 if it is even and it's also divisible by 3. A number is divisible by 8 if it's even and the number made up by the last 3 digits of the original number is also divisible by 8. If the sum of the digits is divisible by 9, then the number itself is divisible by 9. If the number ends in a 0, then we can quickly tell that it is divisible by 10. And also, if the number ends in 00, 25, 50, or 75, then we know that the number is divisible by 25. So if a number doesn't satisfy any of these divisibility rules, it must be prime, right? Not necessarily. We don't have divisibility rules for a lot of odd numbers. So before we can claim a number is prime, we have to make sure it isn't divisible by an odd prime number like 7. Let's say we want to determine whether 371 is a prime or composite number. So we don't need to test every single odd number less than 371. We only need to test the prime numbers that are less than the square root of 371, and this is because factors come in pairs, and the square root marks the middle for the list of factors. So that means we have to test the following prime numbers: 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, and 19. So let's set up our long division problem and see what happens. 7 can't go into 3, but it can go into 37 5 times. 7 times 5 is 35. Subtract them, I'm left with a 2. Bring down the 1. 7 can go into 21 3 times. And in fact, there's no remainder. And so what that means is 7 is a factor of 371, and therefore 371 is a composite number. One of the earliest methods for determining prime numbers was developed by the Greek mathematician Eratophanes. This method works like a sieve, sifting out the prime numbers from the composite numbers. Here's how it works. First, we circle the first number in our list, and then we cross out all the multiples of that number. Then you're going to circle the next number that's not crossed off, and then cross out all of its multiples. So we're going to continue this pattern until we've either circled or crossed off all the numbers up to the square root of 150, which is about 12. Once we get to that portion, any numbers left on our grid are guaranteed to be prime numbers. So let's get to it. A quick trick for finding the multiples of 7 is to actually go down to the next line and move to the left 3 spaces. If you land on one of the first 3 numbers in the row, add 7 to that number to find the next multiple of 7, and then just continue the pattern through the grid. Now that we've either circled or crossed out all the numbers from 2 to 12, we know that all the numbers that are left on our grid are going to be prime numbers. Thank you so much for attending office hours. If you like what you saw, please consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that bell to get notifications when new videos drop. I also stream office hours on Twitch and on Facebook. If you want more office hours, please consider becoming a regular drop-in by joining my Patreon or simply buy me a coffee. Support from viewers like you let me know that you want more office hours, and I'm happy to provide. Well, thanks again, and I hope to see you around.